Hey, can you hear me now? This is what happens on Mondays when I try and stream. All right, so let's start over again. Yeah, I was just about to make myself a cup of coffee. I think I need one.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, maybe. So I'll say it again because I just said it and you didn't hear me. If you were thinking about making yourself a cup of coffee, now would be a really great time to do so. Elena, would you? Oh, that's the refrigerator running.
Nope.
Isn't it?
It's
It's the furnace. Okay.
furnace.
Could you go turn off the furnace, please?
Yeah.
Thanks. My furnace is really noisy. It keeps the house nice and warm, but it does make a lot of noise in the process. So I try and remember to turn that off before I start live streaming. Okay, so in a minute here, I will have something really special for you guys. I did an interview with Justin Piercy from Daddy Got Coffee. He has a YouTube channel, and he's got some really fun content on Instagram. You really need to check him out. I managed to trim the interview down to just under an hour. So while that is playing, I will be in the chat, and hopefully I can answer any questions that you might have about what we talked about. And if I can't answer the questions, you can certainly contact Justin. He's a really great guy, and he loves to interact with people, especially talking about coffee. What else did I say while I had my microphone muted?
I don't know.
I don't remember. Anyway, I'm going to start by making myself a cup of Aeropress coffee. I got this cool attachment. I think I maybe mentioned it on the last episode.
I think I was here.
You were
last
here?
time. No,
Where
because
would you
last
have been?
week you didn't do one last week, did you? And then the week before that, we were at the snow.
Mhm.
And the week before that, I was at Ben and Bree's house.
Oh, that's right. You missed the last one. Okay. So this is a cool little attachment by Fellow Coffee Products. And the box for it's right over here. Because I never throw away boxes. This is the Fellow Prismo. And what it does is, let me take it off here for a second. The Prismo is an attachment that goes onto the bottom of your Aeropress. Has a little mesh metal filter in here, and it fits really snugly in there. It also has a little rubber valve that helps you to create enough pressure as you're pressing your coffee through to give you something a lot closer to an espresso out of this. So it's basically just a cylinder with a plunger that everything fits very, very tightly, and so it does allow you to create pressure to do something very much like espresso. So I'm going to grind myself 18 grams of coffee, and I'm using my Sumatra Mandheling, which you can find on my website, bravewoodbeanery.com. And I'm going to be doing this again later for our recipe. Today we're going to be making what I'm calling an almost instant pot de creme. So I'll talk more about that later. Right now I'm going to grind some coffee. Oh, except that I unplugged my grinder. That was handy. Okay, well, let's plug the grinder back in. No?
Which one's the grinder?
What did I don't know. Something's not working. There we go. Okay, it just wasn't plugged in right. Put the coffee in the grinder. Grind the coffee. All right.
don't like that sound it makes.
You don't like the sound it
Right,
makes. I'm
like when
sorry.
it gets like down to like the last little bit,
Mm-hmm.
it gets higher, and I don't like it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to just dump our 18 grams of coffee there into the Aeropress. And I'm going to need a cup because you have to press this into your cup. Would you get me a coffee cup, please? It's good to have
you
minions.
want?
I don't know. How about the national cup?
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Did I ever finish my tea in either? I don't think I did.
Thank you.
I think it's still sitting on.
Okay, heat up my tea kettle. Hi, Joy.
Hi. I have the other Nashville cup. And it has green tea in it.
It has green tea in it. Oh, that's good.
Uh-huh.
Our household is in the middle of a head cold that's been kind of running circles through the family.
The Black Death.
We affectionately refer to it as the Black Death. Yes, indeed. So yeah, green tea is always a good thing when you're not feeling well. Alright. Just checking out my computer here for a second. Oh, I don't have my my coffee bean background anymore.
Oh.
Okay. Well, as soon as my tea kettle heats up, I will pour about 250 milliliters into my Aeropress. So what I did is I took my Akaya scale and set my coffee cup on it and zero it out so that it reads 0 all the way across. Then I'm going to set this right on top of the cup. Actually, I need to zero it out again. Okay, so when I pour the water in there, it will allow me to measure just the amount of water in there. And I'm going to weigh out about 250 grams. And then I will give it a stir, pretty good stir. And then I'll let it sit for about a minute or so. Actually, with the Aeropress, you can let it sit for as long as you want. The water is only going to extract as much as it can. It's not going to over extract. And actually, when the water is a little bit cooler, closer to your body temperature, your taste buds can actually detect more of the flavors in the coffee. So it doesn't have to be super piping hot, like scald your mouth kind of hot. That's not actually what you want in your coffee. So I am going to get my tea kettle just almost boiling. I'm not going to heat it to a full boil. Alrighty. And I have been trying to put some tags in here in the chat. I don't know if you can see them. If you came into the chat after I typed them in, I've got a link to my website and to my Facebook account in there. Maybe Elena can type them in again for me. Exclamation website. Or anybody else watching, you can type these in if you want the links. Exclamation website, exclamation Facebook. And if you want to see the merch that I have set up on Stream Elements, you can also type in exclamation merch. And yeah, exclamation Facebook. There you go. There's a link to my Facebook account. And also Instagram, I think you can do. My tea kettle is sounding like it's getting close. I'm starting to see some steam. Okay, exclamation Instagram right there. Thank you, Lainey.
I have my computer here for a reason.
Right. Okay, it's nice to have a moderator.
Mm-hmm.
It really helps a lot. Okay, I'm seeing more steam, so I'm going to take that off the heat and pour it into my Aeropress. Oh, that's got some nice bubbles on it. Okay, so now I'm going to get an iced teaspoon to stir that with.
The long one.
A long one, yeah.
Oversteeped green tea.
Yeah, the Aeropress comes with a little paddle thing just for stirring, but you really don't have to use the Aeropress paddle. Just need to make sure that there aren't any clumps and that everything is wet, and that really does increase the extraction quite a lot. And we're going to do this again a little bit later to make our pot de creme. So I'm going to add just a little bit more in there. And I will take it off the scale now. Start my timer. So, is anybody here and wanting to talk? I'd love to hear how your Monday's going. Mine, I haven't gotten as much accomplished today as I really intended to, but you know, we're getting by. We got enough done. I still have more that I need to do this evening, but we do have this evening. I've got some coffee that I need to roast for some customers, and we're gonna make some hamburgers for dinner tonight. It's gonna be yummy.
I love hamburgers.
Yeah, hamburgers are fun. So I'm using a different tripod for my camera. If you notice the different camera angle, I know I'm probably the only one who notices things like that. I'm actually afraid that I left my tripod up in the cabin where we were staying for the snow trip. I don't remember seeing it since we got back, and I don't remember seeing it get unpacked from the car. So I'm using a cheap one that is really designed for just holding your cell phone. I managed to get my camcorder attached to it, and it's holding the camera and it's holding it steady. So I guess, you know, that's better than balancing it on top of a box or something. All right, how are we doing? Oh, goodness, I have let my coffee steep for almost 2 minutes. So I will find where I put the plunger. Where did I put the plunger part? Oh, it's over here. I carried it back there when I was grinding the coffee. Okay, so I'm just gonna plunge this down. I know you guys can't see with this camera angle, I'm sorry. Adding the Prismo attachment really increases the amount of pressure you have to use. How are we doing? I know some of you big beefy brawny guys could do this a lot easier than I can. All right. Oh, that looks good. Did I get it down to the coffee pack? Oh, there's still some water in there. Okay, I'll press it a little more. It doesn't want to press all the way. There it went. Okay, now I got it. And it's got a little bit of foam on top, kind of like an espresso shot, like a lungo. Okay, where did I put my container that I've been dumping my coffee pucks into? I think it's behind you. It's just a used Cool Whip tub. Coffee pucks go into the compost eventually. So the Aeropress is really awesome because it's so easy to clean out. You just take the filter holder off and shoot that puck right into the bucket. And then all you have to do is rinse that off. So I'll give it a quick rinse. You do want to make sure that your screen doesn't have anything stuck in it. Not very much gets stuck in this little microfine mesh screen. At least not that I have noticed. It is quite durable. And as I said before, it fits really tightly into the Aeropress so that you don't get water bypassing the coffee grounds as you're pressing. There's really no way for it to slip around the coffee. It's got to go through. Alrighty, so that is ready to use again as soon as I need it. Right now I need coffee more than anything. Lydia just found her pencil stuck in her hair. Alright, so I am going to measure out another 18 grams of that Sumatra Mandheling so that it's ready to go for our dessert when we're ready to do it. So if no one has any pressing questions for me, I think I'm going to start playing the video, the interview with Justin Piercy, and I hope you all enjoy it. Hi, Justin. I am so happy to finally get together with you and make our schedules work so that we can actually talk about coffee. Welcome to Caffeinated Mondays.
Awesome.
I'd like to ask you some questions just so my viewers kind of know where you're coming from and how you got into the coffee scene. So you are you're from Canada, and got 3 hours off from me, so that's why the scheduling's been so difficult. So how did you start your journey into coffee?
That's a great question. And first off, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I guess I first got started, I was introduced to coffee from friends at work, and we, of course, had a Keurig at work, and I think it was Tassimo at the time, actually, we had. And some of my friends like to go out to Starbucks. So then I started going out to Starbucks, and I thought that was really intense at first, because we have a chain in Canada called Tim Hortons. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Tim Hortons franchise. It's kind of like a Canadian version of Dunkin's, I think, Dunkin' Donuts. So like, you know, it's kind of on every street corner, and that's what most Canadians drink when they buy coffee in the drive-thru or whatever. And that's what I drank for a long time. And then I started doing the Starbucks thing. And then I had some friends go to Guatemala, and they brought back some roasted coffee that had been grown at a farm in Guatemala.
Wow.
And I got a French press, brewed it up in a French press. And then from there, I really enjoyed that, obviously. And I got an Aeropress shortly after that, which was kind of the gateway to like really good coffee at home for me. And then shortly after that, I got a rock espresso maker. My dad got it for me.
Ooh, I'm jealous.
Yeah, it was like, man, I'll tell you, I had such a hard time with that thing. And like, I was using a blade grinder trying to do espresso. So it was like, yeah, I had a very funny relationship with it where like, it looks really cool. And so most of the time it would be on my shelf. And then every now and then I would take it down and try and convince myself that I was making good coffee with it. And anyway, eventually, like, really, I got a lot better using the Aeropress. And then I got a Chemex and got into the pour over thing. And eventually I got a proper burr grinder for my rock. And really I learned to do espresso on manual espresso presses. And then I got a Newton espresso press, which is like a really niche espresso press, really great. And then I got my electric machine after that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I started back when my husband and I were in college, and actually I didn't drink coffee for a really long time, but
Wow.
I had this 8 a.m. math class and it kind of pushed me into you know, picking up a mocha at the local coffee place on my way to class. And yeah, we didn't have a whole lot of money to spend on coffee stuff back then, but we thought we could, you know, start buying those whole beans at the grocery store and
Yeah,
kind
totally.
of, you know, we moved up in very tiny increments.
Yep, same. Yeah, I got my first coffee all at the grocery store, and then, you know, there was a local roaster that I would go to every now and then I kind of slowly started buying it, you know, online from different places, and it kind of goes up like you say, like you kind of go up in little notches,
Right.
as you kind of discover what you like and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a lot of viewers here on Twitch and on YouTube who aren't really convinced that it's worth the extra money, you know, to go into that specialty coffee. So I'm trying to tell them why, you know, it's worth investing a little bit more in your coffee. I think it's worth it. The experience is fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I was thinking back over, you know, my coffee journey, and I remembered this time when we went on vacation and got to the cabin that we were staying in, and there was a coffee maker, you know, like a standard drip coffee maker, but there were no filters. And we tried to come up with all kinds of crazy things to use as filters in that silly coffee machine. So I was wondering if there was any like crazy thing that you've done just to get your morning coffee, you know?
That's a good question. I have used cheesecloth as a filter before. So I have done that. I'm trying to think of other crazy things that I've done. Oh, I used, for the longest time at work, I was trying to do pour overs and I didn't have a gooseneck. So I used like a Starbucks like reusable cup, and I would pour hot water into the cup, and then they have that little tiny hole in it, right? And then I would just like pour it with that. So that's like a good hack that I would use. Also, on the Aeropress, lots of times, like at the office for a long time, we didn't even have like a kettle, so I would just stick the Aeropress under under the hot water we have a water cooler that does hot water. So I would just like ding it to like start heating the water for tea or whatever, and then I would just stick the Aeropress under there and turn it on, and kind of, and it's like, it's good, right? Like people sweat the details on coffee stuff, but if you can get hot water and you know you're brewing good coffee, you're likely going to get a good cup of coffee. So I always tell people not to sweat the details too much. It's way more important to actually buy great coffee than it is to, you know, really sweat the measurements and all that stuff. So I just got my daughter here with me, so she wanted to kind of see what was going on.
So yeah, I saw your video that you posted where you showed somebody that hack of using the reusable coffee cup instead of a gooseneck. And actually I don't have a gooseneck kettle either, so I think I'm going to adapt that.
Yeah, it's great. Like it works really good, gives you some flow control, and you know, it's like it's pretty like MacGyver, but it totally works.
Right. Hey, I love MacGyver.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So while we're talking about your videos, I thought I would plug your YouTube channel.
Oh, thank you.
It's a brand new YouTube channel. Let's see, and you've got over 500 subscribers already. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's going pretty good. Like, you know, I have the Instagram account, which I got a lot of people on my Instagram account. So I think a bunch of them came over to check out my YouTube stuff. And right now I'm just trying to go through all the stuff that I always get asked. So it's like, you know, people are always asking me, what do you do for a V60? What do you do for your AeroPress? You know, this and that. So I'm trying to just, you know, get all that content out of the way.
Right.
And yeah, it's been going great. I like doing that stuff. So it's fun. And thank you for mentioning it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I hope that somebody else follows you from here over to YouTube. As my son, Justin.
Oh, nice to see you there, Justin.
I'm really sick right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's got a
I'm sorry to
head
hear
cold.
that.
So
Oh,
Justin,
sorry to
this
hear
is
that.
Justin. Hopefully he'll get better soon.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I saw that you've got a Chemex brew guide on your YouTube channel. You've done the Hario V60. You've done the origami dripper with your pulse pour method. That is awesome. Yeah. So I would really recommend your videos to anybody who's watching here. Go over and check out Daddy Got Coffee over on YouTube.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah,
That's
and
kind
on
of you.
Instagram. Okay. So I think that's all that I had planned to ask you.
Okay,
But
cool.
yeah, on Instagram once a while back, you plugged this thing called Perfect Coffee Water.
Oh yeah, did you get some?
I did, but I haven't used it yet because I looked at my machine and I thought, it's got a filter in it. Is it going to filter out everything that I put in with this?
I think I think the filter is designed to filter out stuff that is larger than what that ends up being in your water.
Okay.
Like that basically dissolves into like you would never even see it. It's like microscopic floating around in your water. So unless you're filtering with like an RO system, I think most of that'll end up staying in your water.
Okay.
When you're using that, use either RO or distilled water and add it into that. Don't use like spring water or anything.
Okay.
Or tap water, because basically what it does is it takes demineralized water and it remineralizes it for like basically the perfect coffee tasting experience. I find it makes the coffee a lot more like velvety in your mouth.
Okay.
And it just is like, it's just really good. And I'll tell you that when I first started using that, my wife was like, this is over the top ridiculous. Like we moved into this wonderful house, we put in a well, and then I start bringing home distilled water jugs and she's like, we just spent that much money on a well and you're bringing home water. And like, we live in the country, like our water's decent. So then I'm like, let's just try it. And she used it, like we used it for a bit and she's like, I can't tell any difference. And then I ran out and we went back and she's like, okay, yeah, you're right. This makes a big difference. So yeah, so give it a shot. Try it out.
Yes, I will. We are also way out in the middle of nowhere. And we have a well, but we're by a river. And so there's a lot of iron in our water, which we filter out. We have a home filtration system. So I'm not sure how much difference it's going to make for us because we already have quite a bit of minerals in our water, but probably not the right balance of minerals.
Yes, that's often the case.
Okay, so let's talk espresso.
All right.
I have this Breville. Let me show you. I think you probably saw it when you first joined the stream here. So I have this Breville machine.
Yep.
It's kind of an older one.
Yeah, is that a Bambino or?
It's an infuser.
Yep.
So I've been really struggling to get this thing to make a sweet cup of espresso.
All right.
Yeah, I actually got into the manual yesterday and figured out how to turn the temperature up on it.
Okay.
So I turned the temperature up and I haven't actually had a chance to to pull a shot with it since I changed the temperature on it. But
Did you
yeah.
just change cameras?
Yes, I did.
You have another camera back there?
It's my cell phone.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is pretty cool.
So yeah, I can switch back and forth.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. I use this for my live stream all the time, and I love it. It's great. Okay, so what would you suggest for espresso shots that are coming out a little bit on the sour side?
Yes, so generally if espresso is coming out, well, espresso will either come out bitter or sour.
Right.
Or it'll come out great. There's generally not a lot of in between. So if it's coming out sour, that generally means that it's getting pushed through a little bit too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's coming out bitter, it means that usually it's not coming through quickly enough. It's coming through too slow, and the coffee is over extracting.
Okay.
Very, very similar to pour over. So you kind of have these two poles. Like you have the sour side, which is also under extracted. So that means there's not enough of the coffee stuff has gotten pulled out of the coffee yet, and it's a little bit acidic. And then on the bitter side, it means that it's getting too much stuff pulled out and it's starting to taste bitter and burnt. So if it's coming out sour, a couple things that you can do. Raising the temperature might be a good one. Going finer on your grind, if you can, might be a good one. I would definitely suggest that. Yeah, like where are you sitting at with your grinder?
I have a Baratza Sete.
Yeah.
So I think it does a decent job. I've actually ground too fine for my espresso machine with it before. Yeah.
And then it probably comes out like it either probably totally stalls or comes out tasting quite bitter, I guess, when you would do that. Is that right?
It's just completely stalled out. Yeah. I couldn't get anything through those grounds.
Yes. So basically what you want to do is you want to find the sweet spot. I find like my starting point with espresso is if I can get it to come out at a 1-to-2 ratio. So it's like, if I put in, I usually dose 18 grams of dry coffee. So that comes out, I have a larger basket too than you. So that will usually, I try and get it to yield 36. Sometimes I go up to 1 to 2.5. So 36 to 40-ish grams of espresso over about 30 seconds. That is usually like a sweet spot time-wise. And if it's still coming out, should I say that again?
Okay, so you got 18 grams and you're shooting for 36 to 40.
Yeah, so it's like a 1-to-2 to 1-to-2.5 ratio. Over like somewhere around the 30-second mark. And I start my timer from when the first drip hits the scale.
Okay. And I do have this.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Have you tried that yet?
I have, and it's really cool to be able to see, how evenly it's coming out the bottom.
Yes.
I do pretty well, I think, at using my little WDT and getting things broken up in there. I do get some spurting. I've had like a fountain just shooting straight out of this thing. Yeah. So I'm not sure how to do that better, but I think I'm doing okay with that.
What's your dose on it?
I have been just using 14 grams.
Yeah, that's probably, like, I would suggest for that machine probably 16 grams at the very most.
Okay.
So 14 grams is good. One trick that you can do is, like, if you find that you can't go fine enough, and if you're in that sweet spot, it starts really like crazy channeling like that. Like if you get like a spray through, or it's coming through really heavy in one part of the basket, that means that it's like the shot is what's called channeling. So the water's kind of found a hole through the puck and it's like pushing through, really heavily extracting that one part of the puck, but not the rest of the puck.
Right.
So sometimes what you can do if you're getting that a lot is actually like drop the dose a little bit.
Okay.
Like, so say go down to like 12 grams and grind a little bit finer. And sometimes that can really help as well.
Okay. Well,
can I open my coffee? Is that okay?
Sure. Let me know what you think.
Yeah.
Yeah. From the first smell.
All right, I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
Do you maybe want to intro what this coffee is?
This is my Sumatra Mutu Batak. It is a medium roast, medium light. So it's probably going to be a little bit of a challenge, I would think, to dial in really well. But this one, when I brew this in my French press or as a pour over, comes out really sweet and caramely. So I thought maybe it would make an awesome espresso.
Well, you did hit on something, and that is that light roasts are often a little bit more challenging as an espresso. So we're going to see what happens here. You also don't come across too many light roasted or medium light Sumatras. They tend to usually be quite darker.
Yes,
generally.
And my Sumatra Mandheling is a dark roast generally, but this one I found is really, really nice at that lighter level.
Yeah, it's very nutty. I get a little bit of that, it's very common in Sumatras, like that fresh, like tobacco leaf smell. But like the good kind, not like a cigarette. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right.
you know, when
More
you
like,
walk into a nice cigar store.
Right, or like pipe tobacco.
Yeah. Smells good. Okay, well, is this what you've been using in yours?
In my espresso machine?
Yeah.
No, I have been waiting for you to kind of guide me through this.
All right, well, let's try it.
Okay.
I'm going to grind up 18 for mine, 18 grams.
Okay. I think I'm going to just mimic what you're doing, and then we can see what happens. So I'll grind up 18 grams also.
It might not fit in your basket.
This one is supposed to be a 20-gram basket, so I think it'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay. And I'll show you all your peeps. I'm also using a bottomless filter.
Nice.
On mine, so just so everybody can see that. And I'm going to grind up mine at the same grind setting for a medium light roast that I used this morning.
Okay. So, which grinder are you using?
So I'll turn my camera around. I have a couple grinders.
Okay.
This one, the Fellow Ode, is a lot more affordable, very comparable to like a Brazza Encore. Just it's a single dose grinder, so you just put in what you need and then you grind it up. I use that mostly for pour overs and that kind of thing. And then for espresso, I'm almost always using this one, which is a niche coffee grinder, quite expensive. Can do both espresso and pour over. Is probably a little bit better suited to espresso. So I'm just going to try it and we're going to see what happens here.
Okay. I'm going to jump over to my other camera and go ahead and grind my coffee up too.
I'm going to move my camera around as I'm making it.
Okay.
Sweetheart, you want to come out? Yeah, that's a great grinder for espresso. So like, you should be able to get what you need with that.
Yeah. I think this is set fairly fine, but not as fine as it'll go. So. Nope, I missed. See if I got all 18 grams here. Okay. All right. So see if you can see what I'm doing.
Yep.
Okay. So I am going to, I'm going to switch back to this other camera.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll say before you start, just so you know, because this would be easily missed on the stream, I usually let my portafilter heat up in my machine. So it's quite hot by the time I actually start using it.
Mm-hmm.
So that just makes it a little bit more temperature stable, so that when the water starts going through, it doesn't like cool down when it hits the metal as fast.
Right. That's a good idea. I know that back in the back of my brain, but I keep forgetting to do it.
Yeah, it's not a make or break thing, but it's like an every little bit helps thing, you know?
Right. Okay. So I have this nifty little funnel. Yep. All right.
I actually have a dosing cup that fits right into my portafilter, so.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I try and shimmy it. So
Okay.
it's like, I don't know if you can see this, but you see how it's all heaped on one side like that?
Right.
Oh, I try and really kind of just shimmy it until it's a little bit more even to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it's fairly even in there, that's when I do my WDT.
Okay.
Which is basically like a stirring. Yeah, I use a paper clip. You're gonna laugh at that. You see that?
Yep. Whatever
That's all
works.
I use. Yeah.
Totally
And
MacGyver.
Stir it in like a spirograph pattern.
So I
Where do you
usually
get down, sweetheart?
try and go deep all the way around, and then I kind of lift it up and do it in layers, like it as a spiral. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very similar to what I would do. Yeah. If anything, like I find, especially like with a stock tamper, you might find on your bottomless, like if you see it coming out around the ring first, that's like a sign that it's channeling around the outside rather than going through the evenly buck. So if you are pulling on a bottomless and you see that ring form around the very rim, that's a sign that the tamp might not be going right to the edge of your basket on the inside.
Oh, okay.
And if you see that, something that when I'm doing my WDT is I try and make it a little shallower in the center. Not a lot, but just a little bit. And it can kind of help counteract that, because that when you tamp it, that results in a higher density around the edge, making it more difficult to channel around the edge. Only if you've noticed that in your shots would I say that.
Right. Okay, so I usually give mine a little bit of a tap to settle it down before I tamp it.
I don't normally, but that's okay.
Okay.
I would put that in the different strokes for different folks.
Right.
Category. I also use a calibrated tamper that kind of clicks when I hit a 30-pound pressure.
Oh, nice.
So that just makes sure I'm not tamping too hard. It's a common thing to tamp a little bit too hard. Okay, so when I tamp and it clicks at 30 pounds pressure, I notice that it's sitting a little bit higher in the portafilter than, like, it's a little fluffier of a bean than I would sometimes have.
Okay.
So that might mean that I would maybe want to, if this shot doesn't go well, consider dropping the dose.
Okay.
I'm just going to run downstairs while you're prepping your puck and just check
Sure.
on my little boy, make sure he's doing good. You good, buddy? All right.
So yeah, I'm just using the tamper that came with my machine.
Yep.
Yep. And got a decent looking puck, I think.
Yep. Yep, looks good. All right, I'm gonna put you down just for a second. Okay, so do you want to pull first or should I?
Why don't you go ahead and I will run a little bit of hot water through mine to warm it up.
Okay. I can't really see what my Zoom is saying. Actually, it looks like you kind of see it there.
Oh yeah, it looks good. And what machine are you using?
It's an Espresso Duo.
Okay.
All right, so I am going to pull my shot. So that's a 5-second pre-infusion the machine does.
I think mine does the same. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful.
All right, so that came out 42 grams, about 12 seconds.
That was pretty fast.
That was fast.
That was fast.
So I'm gonna want to go. Like I always taste it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
But that means I'm probably gonna want to go a little bit finer on my grind. Come on up, sweetie. Let me just knock this out. I always stir. I'm a stirrer,
Yep.
not a swirler.
Stirring's more effective, right?
That's what they all say anyway. Tastes good. I wouldn't say that's sour. Yeah, I mean, that tastes like, we'll be able to get it better, but that tastes pretty good.
Nice. Even at 15 seconds. All right. Let me pull
Yeah,
mine.
it's a little sour, but it's like,
right?
I'm definitely getting how the coffee is supposed to taste even through that. So
Nice.
the next
Okay.
shot I think will be good.
Let's see what happens with my machine. Oh, switch cameras.
Yeah, I'd love to see.
Yeah. Okay. Let's pull this over here a little bit closer.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I wish I could get, well, here, I'll just take it off of the camera stand so that I can get it right under there for you. Oh, maybe I can. I don't know. All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, it looks like it was flowing a little fast. But it did look fairly even though.
Okay. So give it a quick stir. I'm hoping that this will come out not sour. Oh, I didn't weigh it. I'm not sure how much I got out. That is, I think that's still pretty sour.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. It did look like it was flowing pretty fast there.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna go even finer on this shot. So I went finer by about 1, 2, 3, 4 I'm going to try going finer by 4 clicks
Wow. Okay.
on my grinder. Just I know how it behaves, so we'll see. It might be a little too fine, but
Mhm. So I had a little bit of liquid pooled up on top of the puck here.
yeah. Don't stress about that.
Okay.
That is like, I mean, there's a couple things that can happen there. Some espresso machines have something called a 3-way solenoid that is like basically like a valve that will help purge that water down into the drip tray.
Uh-huh.
I actually don't know if the infuser has that or not.
I think it does.
Yeah, so like I mean, if the espresso tastes good, like I wouldn't sweat that too much.
Mm-hmm.
If you leave your puck in there for a few more seconds, it will start to it will start to absorb some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more important what's coming out.
Right.
Hey, sweetie, what's going on here? You want some more of that? Yeah. There you go. All right, so I'm on round 2.
Okay.
I'm quite a bit finer. I'm going to basically follow the same puck prep process.
Okay, I'm going to turn around and do the same thing.
Sweetie. I might actually drop the dose, depending on to get this fully dialed in, but I'll be able to get, I think, a good 18-gram shot out of this. I always do more stirring than I feel like I need to on the WDT.
Uh-huh.
And I don't usually regret it.
Okay.
I'm just going to tamp. I got it on camera the first time, so I'm not going to move it all around again. One thing I should say is getting an even tamp can really make or break a shot. So you want to eyeball it when you're all done. Like if it came out level, that's kind of what you want.
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't, it can be more harm than good to try and redo it.
Oh.
So it's more something that you just want to practice over time to try and get it right the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something to watch for sure.
Yeah, when I was attempting to pull a shot the other day, I noticed that my tamp was kind of at a slope. Yep. And I actually took my WDT tool and I stuck it in there and I fluffed it all up again, and then I tamped
Yeah,
it.
you can't do that. Yeah, you can't do that. A little riskier, but all right, I'm going to pull my second shot. Is that cool?
Sure, go for it.
I'm just going to move my camera around again. All right, just pass in here. All right. All right, you see that all right?
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay. All right, so when I do this, because I went quite a bit finer, you're probably going to hear my OPV valve opening and closing a little bit. It'll be like a little squeak or whatever.
Okay.
And again, my machine, I have it set to pre-infused for 5 seconds at the beginning. So you'll hear it go on, turn off, and then pull the shot, and that's what that is.
Okay. That seems to me that it's going slower than the last one.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was
Yeah.
33 seconds, 36 out.
Nice.
So you can see it's looking great. Well, I could go a little bit coarser probably, but I would probably only want to go one notch coarser.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is very close to on parameter for me. Even though it came out really slow at the beginning, it's like sometimes that's okay. And it's like I just let my machine run to kind of push through that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me taste that. Mm. Yeah, no sourness.
Oh, nice.
It's a hair bitter, but I'm getting that caramel,
Mm-hmm.
that nice fresh pipe tobacco, like in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Before I had good coffee with that tasting impression, I'd always heard people say that, and I'm like, that sounds nasty, but it is
Right.
actually quite good. Yeah, s'mores I see you have on here. I get that, and cinnamon.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Pull yours. Let me know how it goes.
Okay. I'm gonna try and remember to weigh it this time. Okay, cat. We're not helping. Okay. Oh. Switch to the other camera so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's looking better.
Yeah.
That's looking great.
Oh, I can't wait to taste this.
Come on, sweetheart. Little spray, don't sweat that.
Okay, how much did we get out? All right,
Looks like it went a little long, but
yeah, 47.4
grams or seconds?
grams.
Yeah, so that's definitely a little long.
Yeah.
Can you turn it off, your machine? Like, can you control like when it turns off?
I think if I hit the button again, it'll shut off. Yeah.
So normally what I do is once it gets to the weight is I just kill the machine at that point.
Okay.
So like if I'm pulling 18 grams, once it gets to, 36 to 40 grams, whatever I want to pull, sometimes I'll pull 45. I'll just kill it. Let me know how that is.
Man, that still seems sour to me.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I did make my grind a little bit finer.
Yeah.
And it slowed it way down. So I don't know that I want to grind even finer than that.
Well, you got to go by taste.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily time.
Mm-hmm. Like it's drinkable.
Yeah.
And it would be fine if I threw some cream in it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
How long was it?
Oh gosh, I don't have my timer set up on my scale. But it seemed
That's
like
something
it
that
was,
can really help.
yeah, it seemed like it was about 40 seconds. It was long.
Yeah. Well, if it's coming out, it didn't look like it was channeling to me.
Right.
So sometimes the coffee can come out sour, and it's because there's a lot of channeling.
Mm-hmm.
If you're finding it sour, I might push it another notch and just let it run long. Like
Okay.
that's becoming more acceptable to be able to do that. Like you'll see some cafes will pull like 90-second shots or
Wow.
whatever, and it's like that seems crazy, but they do it and people like it and it tastes good. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not like
one more.
Okay. It's not bad. It's not like I'm drinking lemon juice, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
It just seems like the first impression I get is sour. I am I had COVID like over a year ago, and I'm still trying to retrain my palate.
Well, why don't you go a little finer? Like you got to let your taste guide you. That's the most important thing. That's what I always tell people.
Right.
Come on up, Anna. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll try one more shot. I don't want to take up all of your time, you know, on your Saturday, just teaching me how to pour a shot of coffee.
I'm going to go actually one notch finer on mine. It'll pull quite slowly, but I'll be able to see if it rounds it out even more.
Okay. And I will see if I can figure out how to put the start the timer on my scale.
Watch. Oh, is that what you want? Any astringency on it?
Maybe a little.
Yeah, if you don't have any astringency, like you can push it longer and finer for sure.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, there's like a toy that has run out of batteries that is digging in the background. I'm sorry if you can hear that.
No problem. I can't hear it. And I have 9 children, so I'm really good at ignoring toy noises.
Do you need me to turn it back on there, buddy? Do you need me to turn it on, Levi? Okay, one sec. My middle is having his TV time right now.
Nice.
Okay. I can come turn it back on for you, dude.
Okay, I am going to go one tick finer on my grinder.
All right. That shot looked a lot better than your first shot.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah, I see that, dude. There you go.
I've been getting so frustrated with my espresso shots. I started wondering if espresso was just supposed to taste sour, you know?
No.
Because it just seemed like it didn't matter what I did, you know, it's always coming out not great.
Yeah, rely on your taste. Like sometimes people get too hung up on the times and the weights, and like if it's coming out sour, I always tell, you know, go finer on your grind.
All righty. Fill this basket one more time.
Should do a video puck prep while holding an infant.
Oh yeah. One-handed.
All All right, I'm gonna pull again.
Okay.
We'll see what happens on this round.
Okay. Oh shoot, I just ground that and I didn't actually take the time to readjust my grinder.
Good thing you roasted it yourself.
Right. I still hate to waste coffee.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, let's see here.
Okay.
And you see that?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Wow, that looks super slow.
Yeah.
So on lighter roasted coffees, do you find that you need to push it through really slowly like that?
It really all depends on the coffee.
Yeah.
All right, so I pushed it a little further there. That came out 46
Okay.
grams at 36 seconds from when my lunar started timing. You see that?
Yep.
Looks good.
All right.
Creamy. Yeah, not sour at all.
Nice.
Yeah. Super slow though, like comparatively
Mm-hmm.
to, or like especially at the start, like it was coming out quite slow.
Yeah, yeah, it looks syrupy. Okay, so I'm gonna pull mine and see what happens.
Yep.
Okay.
I would be even comfortable going even finer than that for me.
Yeah, I am just about as fine as my grinder will go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I still need to grind it. I forgot that I needed to regrind. So.
Sorry, I distracted you.
That's okay. I'm learning. Okay.
That's as fine as your grinder will go pretty much, eh?
Yeah, it'll just, it's like it has an adjustment ring up here, and then it has like a micro adjustment down here, and I am just almost as fine as it will go.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I do have this leveler.
Yep.
But I haven't been using it because you're not using one.
Yeah, you know the funny thing about those levelers is like they feel great to use and it looks like it really helps, but they really only have a big impact on the top layer.
Right.
And if you don't follow them, Socratic Coffee does a lot. I think it was them who did like a little experiment to see if it actually makes any positive impact on extraction.
Mm-hmm.
and they found that that type of leveler did not have a big impact, that WDT was much more effective.
I think I
So
just
I've never
messed up
gotten
my,
one for that reason.
yeah. I bought one because it seemed like all the cool kids were doing it, you know?
Yeah, I know.
All right, so I'm not sure how level I got that.
That's all right. It happens. It might come
Yeah.
out a little faster on one side, but we'll see.
We shall see. Okay. So, I don't have enough hands for this. You want to hold my camera for me? So my husband
my
is
house.
here. This is my husband, Eric, and this is
Nice to
Justin
meet you, Eric.
Piercy.
Good to meet you, Justin.
He's going to be my extra hands here. Okay.
We got the whole
And-
family.
and-
8
and
kids.
that-
I don't
and
know
that
how you
one's-
did it.
And that one's Justin.
Yeah.
Yes.
We met Justin already.
Okay.
Okay, so. And zero that and pull a shot. Can you see the, yes, okay.
Turn this in.
My timer's not going. Oh, that looks nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I stopped my timer at 32 seconds, but
Yep.
it didn't start automatically when I started the shot. So I think there's probably like an extra 4 seconds on there.
Yep.
So like 36 seconds. And I know, it's showing the weight is going down. That's weird.
That is weird.
Huh. Shouldn't do that. Oh, I think I have it set. Okay. I have it set incorrectly. It's trying to do one of these multi-pour things.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So let's give it a stir and taste it. But I am encouraged because it looks so much nicer. I think this is definitely going to be an improvement.
If it is still sour, you're going to be hitting up probably on the limits of your grinder.
Yeah. That is definitely less sour.
Yeah.
Yep, I like it. It's
So,
just kind of a little sour at the back of the flavor, you know?
Yep. That's a good lesson for anybody watching, to always trust your taste over your time,
Yeah.
because it is a slightly longer pull than I would normally have as my benchmark.
Mhm.
But like if it's sour, like continue to keep pushing it finer, unless you're seeing, like, what can happen is, if you're not doing your puck prep properly, is you can go finer and finer and finer, but you're just making the channeling worse and worse.
Right.
So if it's not coming out like nice on your bottomless, then you might actually need to go a little bit coarser. But it looked like yours was coming out fairly even, like it wasn't blasting out of one part of the bottomless.
Right.
It looked fairly even. So if you really want to bring that home, you might want to like try and just get your grinder as fine as it will go, and see, and just pull it and see what happens.
Right.
But that's good. Like, it sounds like it's getting better and better.
Yeah, I'm very encouraged. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk me through this.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will let you get back to your Saturday and your family.
Yes, thank you. It was a pleasure, honestly. I was happy to do this, and
Thank you so
the
much.
coffee is really good too. So,
Awesome.
keep it up, and definitely I'll be. So I haven't actually subscribed to your YouTube channel yet, so I'm gonna have to do that.
Okay. You'll get to know my kids.
Yes, that's great.
Okay, well, thank you. And one more reminder to everybody to go check out Daddy Got Coffee on YouTube and on Instagram, because there's some really fun content there. I've been really enjoying seeing what you're putting out there. It's great. So
Thank you. Very
thank you
kind
so
of
much. Yeah, have a good day.
Yes, you too. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.
All right. Hello, we're back. I hope you all enjoyed the interview with Justin. I learned so much about how to pull a good espresso shot and how to dial in a coffee that is a little bit more challenging than a standard dark roast. So that was really cool. Hi, Joy.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that interview. I certainly learned a lot, and I thank you again, Justin, for spending part of your Saturday with me, helping me learn how to do that better. So since I still wanted to give you some live stream content, not just a pre-recorded video, I am going to be making what I am calling an almost instant pot de creme. Did you want to say something?
No, I'm
Just trying to clear your throat. Okay.
be alive, not die here.
Yeah, our household has what we are affectionately calling the Black Death running through it.
Affectionately.
Right.
Affectionately.
It's just a head cold, but it's really nasty. And poor Joy got over it and then ended up getting it again.
Oh yeah, I had it for 3 weeks and then I was healthy for a whole 2 days. It was the best 2 days ever.
Then she got sick again. So
Great.
yeah, I'm really wishing for some warm weather so we can open up all the doors and windows and blow all the nasty air out of the house. Today, though, we were watching snowflakes and rain coming down on us, so no airing out the house today. But anyway, let's see. Joy, would you go over there and type in !recipe 1, recipe number 1, and that will pop up our recipe for our almost instant pot de creme. I'm calling it almost instant because it's not like a Jell-O pudding mix. There's a little bit more to it than that, but you don't have to do any baking or heat sort of prep. So it just goes together in the blender, super easy. Okay, my formatting didn't show up there, but the ingredients are all there.
It took me a second to figure out how to spell recipe.
Really?
I hate that word.
It must be Monday.
Really? I thought it was Wednesday.
It's Monday.
If it was Wednesday, I would have already done class this morning.
Caffeinated Mondays happen on Mondays.
Really?
Yes. All right. So I am heating up my tea kettle because the first thing that I need to do for my pot de creme is make some very strong coffee. So I am going to be using Justin's MacGyver hack. Since I don't have a gooseneck kettle, I'm going to put 250 milliliters of hot water in this, and because it has a small hole for drinking through in the top of it, it should make it easier to pour without spilling so much. So I'm actually going to measure my water into this, and I don't want it completely boiling. I want it somewhere around 195 or 200 degrees-ish. So I'm going to zero out my scale, and my tea kettle's almost hot. We're getting there. Okay, so I am going to pour 250 milliliters of hot water into my travel cup. And then I won't have to worry about measuring it as I'm pouring it into my Aeropress. I got a little bit more than I needed there. I'm not going to pour too much out. Come on. This is why a gooseneck kettle is really nice, because pouring from the standard tea kettle, it's just really hard to control what you're doing. Okay. So this is my AeroPress. This is my Prismo attachment for my AeroPress. It has a metal mesh filter, and it has a rubber valve that helps to increase the pressure as you are pressing your coffee so that you get something closer to an espresso. And for this pot de creme recipe, you really do want a full, rich, strong coffee. We have made it before with cocoa for the kids, so they weren't getting so much caffeine. But it came out really, really sweet, like super, super sweet. And so coffee really is a better choice. But you don't have to make it as strong as I'm making this if you don't, like if you want it to be more chocolatey and not so much like a mocha flavor. We here, however, love the mocha flavor. So I have my AeroPress sitting on top of my coffee mug, and I am going to pour the hot water into it. I did this at the beginning of the stream. I'm going to do it again. Stir with a iced teaspoon, and I'm going to stir fairly vigorously. Also, the Prismo attachment keeps the coffee from seeping down through the filter until you're actually ready to press it through. So, there, that is stirred nicely. I'm going to set my timer for about a minute. As soon as it turns on. Timer start. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to give it about a minute. There are some people who are actually letting their AeroPress coffees steep for 9 or 10 minutes, which is just seems like a really, really long time. So I think 1 minute is going to make a good coffee. It's not going to be as strong as it could possibly be, but it will be perfect for making pot de creme. And this is the way I normally do it if I'm going to make like a latte or something with my AeroPress. So I'm just pressing the AeroPress. And with the Prismo attachment, it requires quite a bit more pressure than just a straight AeroPress. So if I, grunt and sound like I'm in pain, it's because I'm not big and burly enough to do this easily. Oh, there it goes. I don't know if you heard that. All of a sudden I got to the air, because when you are making coffee with an AeroPress, there is a little bit of air that you press through the coffee. All right. So there we go. We're just gonna shoot that puck out into my bin, and that will go into the compost. Now we're going to go over to the blender, and I really wanted to be able to show you with my phone camera a view right over the blender, but we're just gonna have to pretend you can see what I'm doing. I will wipe up some coffee that I dribbled on the counter. Okay, so the first thing we do is we're going to put how much, here we go, 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate chips into the blender. And I do have a Vitamix blender that was retired from, I think, an Orange Julius shop many, many years ago. I've had it for a long time. Oh goodness, I've had this machine for over 20 years. And it is still going strong. So we have 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and that measures out to about 2 cups. Like almost exactly 2 cups. Okay. Then we are going to crack 4 eggs right on top of those chocolate chips in the blender. I know it looks gross, but trust me, this is going to work. This is one of those recipes that is quick and easy and always impresses people and requires no oven. So if you're going to have company over and you want just a really nice something to finish off the meal, but you're you know, roasting something all day long and your oven's busy, this does not take up your oven. All right, so we've got chocolate chips, we've got eggs. We need 2 teaspoons of vanilla and a pinch of salt. Find my teaspoon measure. Okay. Oops. A little thing from inside the cap stuck. 2 teaspoons, and if you measure a little heavy, that's just fine. 1, 2. A little bit of salt. And I am using kosher salt here. Just a little bit. And what else do we need? I think we just need the coffee. So we're going to blend this for a few seconds, and then I'm going to pour the hot coffee just in a stream into the blender as it's going, and the heat is going to cook the eggs, and everything's going to blend together into this smooth, creamy, wonderful dessert. So for those of you with earbuds in, this is going to be noisy. Okay, so I don't know if you guys caught what happened there, but I got chocolate all over myself trying to pour through the lid because this blender turns itself off every 20 seconds. So when I turned it back on, everything just spurted out the top. So remember that when you are doing this yourselves. So I have this creamy, pudding-ish looking, like, it looks like instant Jell-O pudding, you know, that hasn't set up yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this into some wine glasses because I think that'll make a really nice presentation. And then I will let this chill in the refrigerator for 2 or 3 hours. It should be just perfect when we're ready to have dessert after dinner tonight. And I will whip up some whipping cream and put a dollop, a little swirl of whipping cream on top of that, and it'll just be lovely. So seriously, that is the easiest pot de creme recipe I've ever seen. I did not make this up myself. This actually comes from the Pioneer Woman. And I don't remember the exact title that she gave it, but if you look on pioneerwoman.com, you should be able to find the pot de creme recipe. It's super easy though. If you want the ingredients list again, just type in !recipe and the number 1, and it should show up for you. Almost done. One more glass. Actually, I think I could make those a little bit more full. I was trying to be conservative, so I'd make sure I got 5 servings, because there will be 5 of us at dinner tonight. One of my daughters is working, so she won't be here for dinner. I suppose maybe I should have made one for her anyway, though, huh? She can have it when she gets home. I think I will do that. Okay, so here it is in the little wine glass, and it will be so cute with a little swirl of whipped cream on top. All right, so that is all that I have for you guys today, and I thank you all for being here, for watching the interview with Justin Piercy, and I really do recommend that you follow him on Instagram if you're on Instagram. He has been doing some really fun reels. Just he's a lot of fun to watch. He and his wife have been doing some really amusing reels lately, and he really does know his stuff when it comes to coffee. Thank you for joining us again for Caffeinated Mondays, and a little chocolate explosion today. All right, I will see you guys next week. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.